You're in the right place for PlayZoomers table read of Look Away by Maury Norkin. We'll be getting underway in just about a minute.
Happy summer, and welcome to PlayZoomers. I'm Jan Cartman, Executive Director and Producer.
And I'm Marianne Nichols, producer and literary manager. And tonight we offer a table read of a new play in development by Maury Norkin. It's called Look Away.
PlayZoomers offers occasional table reads in addition to our annual season of 5 performance weekends. In this case, Maury had a play he was developing and wanted to see it on its feet, so to speak. He's very interested in your feedback tonight.
Well, we've worked a lot with Maury on several past PlayZoomers productions. We've made a lot of good friends and a lot of good theater in the past 6 years. And Maury hopes that we can help him produce something a little more complicated than the usual table read. For example, the addition of music and graphics.
So we tapped our tech director, Doug McDougall, to oversee it all and got Patty Alice Mengers, a PZ veteran director, on board.
Look Away is an historical play. It centers on the years 1862 and 1885. The main characters are Ulysses Grant, his wife Julia, and their friend Mark Twain. It takes a really deep dive into the impact of anti-Semitism during Grant's Civil War years. And well, that's something that was never covered in my history classes.
You're wrong. If this is your first exposure to PlayZoomers, please take a look at our website where there's lots of great information, including ways to submit scripts and check out past productions. We rely on your generous donations, so please visit playzoomers.org and click Support Us.
And shameless pitch here, we have a book out too. Jan and I have edited a collection of 20 funny scripts that we've produced called Comedies for the Virtual Stage, available on Amazon and other book sites.
And in case you missed it, Mary and I promoted PlayZoomers on NPR's Here and Now with Robin Young this past spring. There's a link to that on our homepage.
Well, tonight's table read runs a little bit over an hour. During the play, please use the Q&A section that you see at the bottom of your Zoom screen. That's the place to write your questions and comments, and we will read them during the talkback.
After the show, please stay for that talkback with Mary and me, the playwright, the director, the actors, and the creative team.
And now, Look Away by Maury Norkin, directed by Patty Alice Mengers. Enjoy.
From distant shores we heard about a land of liberty, a land where everyone lives free. And filled with hope that this was true, we took our families and set our sights across the shining sea. But as we sailed, our fears took hold, and filled with trepidation, we've left the only place that we have known. And then ahead by dawn's new light, a glimpse of this young nation, and suddenly it felt like we've come home. We're here to make a brand new life, America, to live carefree and without strife. We pledge our allegiance unto you, America, and always to the red, white, and blue. We give our hearts and souls to you, America, and make a promise always to be true. We proudly join with others, yearning to breathe free. That's the promise of this land of liberty. We're here to make a brand new life, America, to live carefree and without strife. We pledge our allegiance unto you, America, and always to the red, white, and blue. We give our hearts and souls to you, America, and make a promise always to be true. We proudly join with others, yearning to breathe free. That's the promise of this land of liberty.
Ulysses, dear, have some tea. It will help you concentrate.
My dearest Julia, there's nothing wrong with my concentration. The writing is just flowing from me. My only concern is time. Which tea did you bring? The English tea or that bitter Japanese tea?
Japanese. It has wonderful medicinal qualities. I added a bit of sugar. Please have some.
Always looking out for me. Thank you. If we had stayed in Washington, we had never had the chance to tour the world.
Well, I suppose that's true. I never quite fit in with Washington society. They considered me unpardonably extravagant, and I considered them inexcusably the other way. I'll leave you to your writing.
Julia exits, lights dim on Grant as he continues writing.
Yes, we'll rally round the flag, boys, we'll rally once again, shouting the battle cry of freedom. We'll rally around the hillside, we'll gather from the plain, shouting the battle cry of freedom. The Union forever, hurrah, boys, hurrah! Down with the traitors and up with the stars, while we rally round the flag, boys, rally once again, shouting the battle cry of freedom. Springing to the call of our brothers gone before, shouting the battle cry of freedom. And we'll fill our banquet ranks with 1,000,000 freemen more, shouting the battle cry of freedom. The Union forever, hurrah, boys, hurrah! Down with the traitors and up with the stars, while we rally round the flag, boys, rally once again, shouting the battle cry of freedom. Well, we welcome to our numbers the loyal, true, and brave, shouting the battle cry of freedom. Although they may be poor, not a man shall be a slave, shouting the battle cry of freedom. The Union forever, hurrah, boys, hurrah! Down with the traitors and up with the stars, while we rally round the flag, boys, rally once again, shouting the battle cry of freedom. We're shouting the battle cry of freedom.
Ulysses, Mr. Clemens is here.
Samuel, it's about time. Come, have a seat.
Mr. Clemens, would you care for some tea?
I hate to be bothersome.
Bothersome. Your company is always most welcome. It has been such a tremendous help to Ulysses with his memoirs. Now, would you prefer English tea or Japanese?
Oh, you must try the Japanese tea. It's quite refreshing. Yes.
I'm not going to enter a contest of wills against the man who single-handedly defeated the Confederacy. Japanese tea, please.
Choice.
Still the perfect hostess.
She so misses being First Lady. She may never forgive me for not seeking a third term.
Mr. President.
Samuel, how many times must I tell you? Ulysses.
Very well, Ulysses. May I see the latest? Things began to quiet down, and as the certainty that there would be no more armed resistance became clearer, the troops in North Carolina and Virginia were ordered to march immediately to the capital and go into camp there until mustered out. Suitable garrisons were left at the prominent places throughout the South to ensure obedience to the laws that might be enacted for the government of the several states and to ensure security to the lives and property of all classes.
I do not know how far this was necessary, but I deemed it necessary at that time that such a course should be followed. I now think that these garrisons were continued after they ceased to be absolutely required. But it is not to be expected that such a rebellion as fought between the sections between 1861 and 1865 could terminate without leaving many serious apprehensions on the minds of the people as to what should be done.
You've made great progress, Ulysses. I would say you are very near the end.
In more ways than I care to count.
Your tea, Mr. Clemens. I hope it is to your liking.
Ooh. Well, if you haven't gathered by now, my name is Samuel Clemens, or as I'm more commonly known to most folks, Mark Twain. And that, of course, was Ulysses S. Grant, Civil War hero and 18th President of the United States, and his lovely wife, Julia. I consider General President, let's just call him Grant, to be a friend and the most interesting personality I ever met. Grant was a complicated man, a skilled tactician on the battlefield, a leader with a clear vision, a complete idiot as a businessman, and a man who harbored some ugly feelings toward a certain segment of the citizenry. That last point not only caused harm to Grant's reputation, but inflicted some serious harm to the aforementioned segment of the citizenry, the Jewish population.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabo v'yalma divra chirutea.
That fellow was reciting Mourner's Kaddish, the Hebrew prayer for the dead. Oddly, this prayer was offered in memory of President Grant after his death on July 23rd, 1885. I say oddly for a couple of reasons. First, I'm told that it is uncommon for the Kaddish to be so widely repeated for a non-Jew. And second, during his time as a major general order in the Civil War, Grant issued what was called General Order 11.
That obnoxious order.
Well, it was much worse than just obnoxious. That order had a profound effect on the Jewish population and was destined to leave a stain on Grant's legacy. More important, it would lay bare just how truly fragile is the freedom we take for granted.
Oh, I wish I was in the land of cotton. Old times there are not forgotten. Look away, look away, look away.
Our story begins in 1861 with the American Civil War just getting underway, a time when cotton was king. President Abraham Lincoln was determined to choke off the economy of the Confederacy, which was dependent on their cotton crop, and of course, the slaves to picket.
Actor 2 and Actor 1 are Lincoln and Secretary of the Treasury Salmon B. Chase, respectively.
Secretary Chase, what news have you on our blockade of the cotton trade?
Mr. President, your order forbidding trade with the Confederate States has been most effective. However, the Army now finds itself in urgent need of cotton for tents and uniforms. We need to restore trade to some degree. The best thing to be done, as it seems to me, is to establish the power of the government in cooperation with the people of Kentucky and Western Virginia within those limits, and let commerce follow the flag.
I believe that's best. We will limit trade to territories that are under direct control of our troops. Salmon, you will issue permits through your Treasury Department to individuals seeking to purchase cotton.
Sir, we have received new communication from Washington regarding the sale of cotton.
Captain Rawlins, unless they are finally agreeing with me that the government is the sole purchaser of cotton for a set price, it's not likely I want to see this.
Secretary Chase issued his regulations that required purchasers of cotton to obtain Treasury's issued permits. Thus, private individuals were licensed to follow the Army, buy cotton, and ship it up the Mississippi River. Meanwhile, you see, the Confederacy was imposing its own cotton embargo on the textile mills of the North, as well as England and France. Their hope was that the latter two would intervene in the conflict on their behalf, since cotton was vital to their economies as well. As you can imagine, cotton became a hot commodity. Folks just couldn't contain themselves. The black market for cotton began to thrive. It was, to use the vernacular, a cotton-picking mess.
Any trade with the rebellious states is weakening us to at least 33% of our force. And no matter what the restrictions placed around trade, if any, whatever is allowed, it will be made the means of supplying to the enemy what they need.
Things eventually reached a boiling point at Grant's headquarters in Holly Springs.
Chicago Tribune, Dateline, Holly Springs, Mississippi, December 1862. If ever a community were insane or afflicted with a disgusting moral malady, it is the crowds of speculators and vagrants which have congregated at Holly Springs to deal in cotton. They have cotton on the brain, every one of them.
Now, you may be wondering, what exactly did that have to do with General Grant?
Mr. Clemens, if you don't mind, I was put in command of the District of West Tennessee in February of 1862. In October of that year, the area was reclassified as the Department of the Tennessee, and I was promoted to Major General. Now, you may know of some of my heroics during the battlefield, during our fight to suppress the rebellion, but you may not know of the other duties foisted upon me which caused great consternation. The regulations issued from the Treasury Department put me squarely in charge of managing the cotton trade within my department. It didn't take long for a black market in cotton run by filthy speculators to take root in my territory. And I knew all too well who was behind it and exactly what to do about it. Captain Rawlins, I'm issuing orders that the Israelites especially should be kept out. We will refuse them all travel permits to come south of Jackson, Mississippi. For the present. Further, I'm ordering all conductors on the railroad that no Jews are to be permitted to come southward at any point. They may go north and be encouraged in it, but they are such an intolerable nuisance that our department must be purged of them.
Now, the truth is, these speculators were as varied as the general population at the time, but in an uncanny, common historical trend, the involvement of Jews tended to receive particular scrutiny. Funny how such a small population, 150,000, 200,000 out of a total of some 31 million, could be responsible for so many of the ills that plague society. If the statistics are right, the Jews constitute but 1/4 of 1% of the human race. It suggests a nebulous puff of stardust lost in the blaze of the Milky Way. Properly, the Jew ought hardly to be heard of, but he is heard of, always has been heard of. He is as prominent on the planet as any other people, and his importance is extravagantly out of proportion to the smallness of his bulk. His contributions to the world's great names in literature, science, art, music, finance, medicine, and abstruse learning are also very out of proportion to the weakness of his numbers. He has made a marvelous fight in this world in all ages, and has done it with his hands tied behind his back. And so it was that the terms speculator and Jew became one and the same.
The Corinth War Eagle, Union Army. Jew speculators are nothing but sharks feeding upon the soldiers. General Grant has determined to rate them a nuisance.
In the Confederate House of Representatives, Henry Foote of Mississippi stated,
It is notorious that our land has recently been deluged with foreign Jews. If the present state of affairs were to continue to the end of the war, we would probably find nearly all the property of the Confederacy in the hands of Jewish Sherlocks.
Not to be outdone, Robert Hilton, the Confederate representative from Florida, noted,
The Jews had swarmed here as the locusts of Egypt. They ate up the substance of the country. They exhausted its supplies. They monopolized its trade.
Seems about the only thing the two sides in the war could agree on was the unfounded notion that Jews were unscrupulous outsiders. Granted, no pun intended, there were Jews involved in the cotton trade, both legal and illegal. Why should they be any different than the Christian or the atheist population in that regard? Several rabbis, recognizing how a few bad apples could spoil the bunch, spoke out about these activities being carried out by their co-religionists.
Let us meet the smugglers that bring shame and disgrace upon us and our religious faith with the fullness of our moral indignation. This crime is far greater, committed by a Jew, because he must know that the whole Jewish community is made accountable for his offense, that his act inflicts shame, disgrace, and misfortune upon his fellow believers.
And that is certainly how Grant saw things, as the Jews were the only group he and others thought to single out by religion or ethnicity. And then, as fate would have it, a visitor came calling, none other than his father, Jesse R. Grant. General Grant foreshadowed the meeting in a letter to his sister, Mary.
Sir, I have correspondence from your family.
No, I haven't yet responded to yesterday's arrivals. Thank you, Captain. You're dismissed.
Actor 1 salutes and exits. Grant retrieves some notepaper and a fountain pen from his desk and begins writing.
December 15th, 1862. Dear sister,
Yesterday, I received a letter from you and the children, and one from Uncle Samuel. Today, I learned by telegraph that Father is at Holly Springs, 30 miles north of here, and Julia is there. And as I expect the railroad to be completed to here by tomorrow, I look for them to come down. With all of my other trials I have to contend against is added that of speculators whose patriotism is measured by dollars and cents. Country has no value with them compared with money. To elucidate this would take quires of paper, so I will reserve this for an evening's conversation if I should be so fortunate as to again get home where I can have a day to myself. Oh, poor dear.
remember me to all at home, your brother Ulysses.
Grant would not had that day to himself, as Jesse arrived on the 17th.
I did not accompany him. I considered time away from Jesse a blessing.
Father, when I received word that you were at Holly Springs, I knew it was just a matter of time before you arrived at Oxford. Is Julia with you?
Your wife did not accompany me further. As you can see, I have another guest. Allow me to introduce you. Harmon Mack, my son, General Ulysses Grant.
It is an honor to meet you, General. Jesse, your father, has been a good friend to me and my brothers.
Major General. Pleased to meet you, Mr. Mack. I know my father all too well to think this is just a courtesy calling.
Jesse, you didn't explain? You see, sir, my brothers and I...
The Mack brothers, highly respected members of the Jewish community, run a very successful clothing company back in Cincinnati. And with the limited availability of cotton, well...
This is the reason you take me away from my duties.
Is it not your duty to grant permits for purchasing cotton? They have agreed to provide me 25% of the profits from...
Denied. There will be no trading of cotton or of my good name. With this, you should both prepare to return to north on the next train. Good day, Father. Sir.
On the same day as this unhappy reunion, Major General Grant issued that obnoxious General Order 11.
Headquarters, 13th Army Corps, Department of the Tennessee, Oxford, Mississippi, December 17th, 1862. The Jews, as a class, violating every regulation of trade established by the Treasury Department and also department orders, are hereby expelled from the department.
2.
Within 24 hours from the receipt of this order by the post commanders, they will see that all of this class of people be furnished passes and be required to leave. And anyone returning after such notification will be arrested and held in confinement until an opportunity occurs of sending them north as prisoners, unless furnished with a permit from headquarters.
3.
No permits will be given these people to visit headquarters for the purpose of obtaining trade permits.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu, Malkeinu Atzvanu lefanecha Avinu Malkeinu Kamol Aleinu Ve'al Aleinu Ve'tahapeinu Avinu Malkeinu Kale Dever Ve'cherev Ve'ra'ah Me'aleinu Avinu Malkeinu Kale Kotsa Umasti Me'aleinu Avinu Malkeinu Avinu Malkeinu Kotvenu Besefer Chaim Tovim Avinu Malkeinu Kadesh Aleinu Kadesh Aleinu Shana Tova Avinu Malkeinu Avinu Malkeinu Kadesh Aleinu Shana Tova Avinu Malkeinu Shema Koleinu Shema Koleinu Shema Koleinu.
Our Father, our King, hear our voices. We have sinned in your presence. Have compassion on us and our children. Rid us of disease, war, and hunger. Rid us of every oppressor and adversary.
Our Father, our King, inscribe us for good in the book of life. Our Father, our King, make this a good new year for us. Our Father, our King, hear our voices.
General Order 11 was controversial, to say the least. Even Grant's Chief of Staff, John A. Rawlins, raised objections.
Sir, do you think this is wise? Perhaps you should pass it by Washington first for deliberation.
They can countermand it from Washington if they like, but we will issue it anyhow. Dismissed.
Nevertheless, Grant felt it necessary to justify his order, so he sent a letter to Christopher Walcott, United States Assistant Secretary for War.
Headquarters, 13th Army Corps, Department of the Tennessee, Oxford, December 17th, 1862. Honorable C.P. Walcott, Assistant Secretary of War. Sir, I have long since believed that in spite of all the vigilance that can be infused into post commanders, that the specie regulations of the Treasury Department have been violated, and that mostly by Jews and other unprincipled traitors. So well satisfied have I been at this point that I have instructed the commanding officer at Columbus to refuse all permits to Jews to come south, and frequently have had them expelled from the department. But they come in with their carpet sacks in spite of all that can be done to prevent it. The Jews seem to be a privileged class. They can travel anywhere. They will land at any woodyard or landing in the river and make their way through the country as not permitted to buy cotton themselves. They will act as agents for someone else who will be at a military post with a treasury permit to receive cotton and pay for it in treasury notes, which the Jew will buy up at an agreed rate, paying gold. There is but one way that I know of to reach this case. That is for the government to buy all of the cotton at a fixed rate and have it shipped to Cairo, St. Louis, or some other place to be sold. Then all traders, as they were a curse to the army, might be expelled. I am, sir, very yours respectfully, your obedient servant, U.S. Grant, Major General.
And so the exodus began. Jews in Hollis Springs and Oxford, Mississippi, as well as in Paducah, Kentucky, were ordered to leave immediately. Caesar Caskell, a resident of Paducah, could hardly believe what was happening.
I was born in Prussia in 1833. In 1858, I come to America and settle in Paducah, Kentucky. I saw America as the answer to the persecution I felt in my homeland. I saw America as the land of freedom and opportunity. I didn't believe that being a Jew would distinguish me from my fellow American citizens as it did in my homeland. On December 28, 1862, I learned different.
Caesar J. Caskell?
Yes, I am Caesar Caskell. May I be of some assistance?
I am Captain L.J. Waddell, Provost Marshal for Paducah. I have an order from General Ulysses S. Grant, Commander of the Department of Tennessee. I am to deliver it to you and to all Jews residing in the city.
What kind of order?
Read it yourself. You do read English, don't you?
Of course. Office of Provost Marshal, Paducah, Kentucky, December 28, 1862. C.J. Caskell. Sir, in pursuance of General Order Number 11, issued from General Grant's headquarters, you are hereby ordered to leave the city of Paducah, Kentucky within 24 hours after receiving this order. By order, L.J. Waddell, Captain and Provost Marshal.
That's me.
I don't understand. What is this General Order Number 11? Why must I leave?
Caesar Caskell was one of 30 men and their families sent up the Ohio River from Paducah to Cincinnati by riverboat. All of the Jews of Paducah were removed by December 29, 1862.
We were Union citizens, none of whom had been engaged in trade within General Grant's department, and two among us were veterans of the Union Army. We had no choice but to lock up our homes and shops.
Back in Holly Springs, the Jews were denied rail transportation and were forced to walk approximately 45 miles to Memphis, Tennessee. Meanwhile, Caesar Caskell used his limited time wisely and paid a visit to Western Union.
I would like to send a telegram.
Where to?
The White House. Honorable Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States. General Orders Number 11, issued by General Grant at Oxford, Mississippi, December the 17th, commends all post commanders to expel all Jews without distinction within 24 hours from his entire department. The undersigned, good and loyal citizens of the United States and residents of this town for many years, engaged in legitimate businesses as merchants, feel greatly insulted and outraged by this order, this inhuman order, the carrying out of which would be the grossest violation of the Constitution and our rights as good citizens under it, and would place us, besides a large number of other Jewish families of this town, as outlaws before the whole world. We respectfully ask your immediate attention to this enormous outrage on all law and humanity, and pray for your effectual and immediate interposition. We would respectfully refer you to the post commander and the post adjutant as to our loyalty, and to all respectable citizens of this community as to our standing as citizens and merchants. We respectfully ask for your immediate instructions to be sent to the commander of this post.
Desperate for help, Gaskell also began to write letters to Jewish community leaders and to publishers of Jewish and other daily newspapers. He even traveled to Washington to advocate for the revocation of the order. But there, news of this order had not yet reached President Lincoln, who was busy with other matters.
I do order and declare that all persons held as slaves within said designated states and parts of states are and henceforward shall be free. And upon this act, sincerely believed to be an act of justice, warranted by the Constitution, I invoke the considerate judgment of mankind and the gracious favor of Almighty God.
The irony. 3 days later, on January 4th, 1863, Gaskell, with the aid of Ohio Congressman John A. Gurley, met with President Lincoln at the White House.
And so the children of Israel were driven from their happy land of Canaan?
Yes, and that is why we have come unto Father Abraham's bosom, asking protection.
And this protection they shall have at once.
Say, brothers, will you meet us? Say, brothers, will you meet us? Say, brothers, will you meet us on Canaan's happy shore? Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Forever, evermore. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Forever, evermore.
Glory, hallelujah, indeed. A man oughtn't be put in the position of needing to fix the blunder of another man in the first place. And I've a bone to pick with that conversation between President Lincoln and Mr. Gaskell. Lincoln was certainly one to use biblical imagery in his speeches to great effect. So much so that one might suspect he was actually the original author. But that conversation, it got spread around, and many folks just took it as gospel, so to speak. My personal view is it is probably more mythology than fact, and I would like to add that I could have written something better had I been asked. Now, where was I? Oh yes, the point is that Lincoln did, in fact, act quickly.
General Halleck, I need you to send instructions to Major General Grant, informing him that he is to immediately rescind General Order 11. I am absolutely astonished such an order was given at all. I have no prejudice against Jews and will not tolerate it in others.
Yes, Mr. President, right away. Major General Grant, a paper purporting to be General Orders Number 11, issued by you December 17th, has been presented here. By its terms, it expels all Jews from your department. If such an order has been issued, it will be immediately revoked.
Grant complied 3 days later.
By direction of the General-in-Chief of the Army at Washington, the general order of these headquarters expelling all Jews from the department is hereby revoked.
Some folks were still just learning about the order, so the controversy remained fresh. The first Jewish organization to formally protest against General Order 11 was B'nai B'rith of Missouri, my home state. In a letter to President Lincoln dated January 5th, 1863, they wrote,
An order expelling and ostracizing all Jews as a class has been issued by Major General U.S. Grant. In the name of religious liberty and humanity, we enter our solemn protest against this order and ask of you, the defender and protector of the Constitution, to annul that order and protect the liberties even of your humblest constituents. Henry Kuttner, President.
The press had a field day. An editorial in the New York Times marveled that
it remained for the freest government on earth to witness a momentary revival of the spirit of the medieval ages.
for some reason, perhaps to show a kindred spirit, General Halleck felt it necessary to write to Grant again to further explain the reasoning for rescinding General Order 11. Halleck's letter was approved by President Lincoln. On January 21st, Halleck wrote,
The President has no objection to your expelling traitors and Jew peddlers, which I suppose was the object of your order. But as its terms proscribed an entire religious class, some of whom are fighting in our ranks, the President deemed it necessary to revoke it.
What with all the hubbub, naturally and ineffectually, Congress got involved. Suppose you were an idiot, and suppose you were a member of Congress. No, I promised I would not bring my usual humor to this event. Just state the facts. As reported in the New York Daily Tribune, January 6, 1863, Senator Lazarus Powell, Democrat from Kentucky, rose on the floor on January 5, 1863.
Whereas many citizens of Paducah, Kentucky, had been driven from their homes by military authority without any specific charges, therefore resolved by the Senate that said order of Major General Grant is condemned as tyrannical, usurping, and unjust, and the President is requested to countermand the same.
Senator John P. Hale, Republican from New Hampshire, rose in opposition.
Senator Powell, if I may state the obvious, President Lincoln has already rescinded the offending order. There is nothing left to discuss.
Senator Hale, I am glad of that, and I commended the President for his action in this case. But still, I wish the resolution to be passed in order to show the opinion of the Senate of such an order, leveled against a class of our citizens. I yield to Senator Clark of New Hampshire.
This is all ridiculous. I think we should just table the motion.
The vote was yeas 30, nays 7, and the resolution was tabled. In the House of Representatives, things were not much different. Congressman George H. Pendleton, Democrat from Ohio, introduced a resolution on January 7th.
General Grant has caused many peaceable citizens and residents in the said department to be expelled therefrom without any allegation of misconduct and with no other proof than that they were members of a certain religious denomination. And whereas such a sweeping order made no distinction between the innocent and the guilty, and is illegal, unjust, tyrannical, and cruel, Therefore, resolved that the said order deserves the sternest condemnation of this House and of the President as Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy. I yield to Representative Washburn of Illinois.
I move to table the resolution.
The vote was yeas 56, nays 53. The furor over the order died down about as quickly as it had arisen, given the continued prosecution of the war. But the issue would be associated with Grant for the remainder of his life, particularly so as he campaigned for the presidency in 1868.
We are ready for the fight, we will struggle for the right, and we know that Grant is true, his arm is strong. He is once more at our head, as he was when late he led, and the battle cry of freedom was our song. Grant, 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 the country's calling. Goodbye, Andy, you must go. For the man will be our head, unto victory is led. For to Grant the traitor ever is a foe. He will win election day, as he holds our foes at bay, and we all will cheer to hear the happy news. He will oust the traitor horde with the mallet as his sword. The Ku Klux Klan will shiver in their shoes. Grant, 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 the country's calling. Goodbye, Andy, you must go. For the man will be our head, unto victory is led. For to Grant the traitor ever is a foe. Grant, 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 the country's calling. Goodbye, Andy, you must go. For the man will be our head, unto victory is led. For to Grant the traitor ever is a foe. For to Grant the traitor ever is a foe.
Grant, Grant, Grant. You have to admit it's a catchy tune. Well, Grant only knows two tunes, and one of them is Yankee Doodle. The other isn't. Be that as it may, General Order 11 became an issue during the 1868 presidential campaign, and the concerns of Jewish voters suddenly mattered more than ever before. But there was no singular point of view among Jews. Some saw Grant as a national hero, and that was enough. Others saw him as contemptible for issuing the order and could not support him. Many struggled with the choice between wanting to send a message to the man who hurt them or foregoing their own special interest in favor of the national interest. This quandary was expressed by two leading Reform rabbis.
It is different when I take a ballot in order to exercise my rights as a citizen. Then I am not a Jew, but I feel and act as a citizen of the Republic. On election day, I do not ask what pleases the Israelites. I consult the welfare of the country. Must Jews set aside our principles and change our vote since Grant has insulted us? If Grant is the best man for the Americans, he is the best man for the Israelites, despite General Order Number 11.
If wrong is wrong, he who defends it is wicked. Men of principle and character have the solemn duty to speak, to resent indecencies, to plead their cause, and to stand up firmly and decidedly for their rights and their principles. We will consider it our duty to oppose Grant and the party nominating him. Worse than General Grant, none in this 19th century and civilized countries has abused and outraged the Jews. We bring both the Jew and the citizen to the public forum.
As you already know, Grant won by a large margin. The Jewish vote didn't seem to have much impact. Having secured victory, Grant did issue an apology of sorts for General Order 11.
General Grant, our readers would like to know if you have any further comments about General Order 11.
At the time of the order's publication, I was incensed by a reprimand received from Washington for permitting acts which Jews within my lines were engaged in. While there were many others within my lines, equally bad with the worst of them. But the difference was that the Jews could pass with impunity from one side to the other. The order was issued and went without any reflection, without thinking of the Jews as a sect or race to themselves, but simply as persons who had successfully, and I say successfully because there were many others within my lines who envied their success, violated an order which greatly inured to the help of the rebels. I have no prejudice against sect or race, but want each individual to be judged by his own merit. Order number 11 does not sustain that statement. I admit, but then again, I do not sustain that order. It never would have been issued if it had not been telegraphed for the moment it was penned and without reflection.
Although that seems like a half-hearted apology, as president, Grant seemed to go out of his way to make amends. Grant was sworn in on March 4th, 1869. He appointed Simon Wolfe, an attorney in B'nai B'rith Leda, recorder of deeds. Wolfe would become the president's advisor on Jewish affairs, and in that role he encouraged President Grant to appoint Jews to other positions, which he did. In response to reports of persecution of Jews in Russia and Romania, Grant stated,
"The United States, knowing no distinction of her citizens on account of religion or nativity, naturally believes in a civilization the world over, which will secure the same liberal views."
Although the Jewish population felt their voices were finally being heard, many still worried that progress was only temporary. Rabbi Max Lilienthal of Cincinnati spoke out defiantly to continue the fight. Grant was apparently listening.
We are going to lay our cornerstone with the sublime motto, eternal separation of church and state.
Leave the matter of religion to the family altar, the church, or the private school supported entirely by private contributions. Keep the church and state forever separate.
For this reason, we shall never favor or ask any support for our various benevolent institutions by the state. And if offered, we should not only refuse, but reject it with scorn and indignation.
Forbidding the teaching in said schools of religious, atheistic, or pagan tenets, and prohibiting the granting of any school funds or school taxes for the benefit of and aid, directly or indirectly, of any religious sect or denomination.
Near the end of his second term in 1876, President Grant attended a ceremony in Washington, D.C. for the opening of the new Adash Israel Synagogue. That was the first time a sitting U.S. president had attended a synagogue service.
Mr. President, we're so grateful to you for attending today. Thank you.
3 hours, but it was lovely.
Oh, we never expected you to stay the entire time.
If only that had been communicated earlier.
Ulysses, you are working too hard. Mr. Clemens, he listens to you.
Dearest Julia, the day that I listened to Samuel...
Ulysses, I'll keep my visit brief. I wanted to let you know that I have made arrangements for the publication of your memoirs. I think you and Julia will be quite pleased with the offer.
That's wonderful news, isn't it, Ulysses? Mr. Clemens, please have a seat. I'll bring tea.
English.
English.
Is it done? Huh. While a citizen of Missouri, my first opportunity for casting a vote at a presidential election occurred. I had been in the Army from before attaining my majority, and had thought but little about politics, although I was a Whig by education and a great admirer of Mr. Clay. But the Whig Party had ceased to exist before I had an opportunity of exercising the privilege of casting a ballot. The Know-Nothing Party had taken its place, but was on the wane, and the Republican Party was in a chaotic state and had not yet received a name. Most of my neighbors had known me as an officer of the Army with Whig proclivities. They had been on the same side, and on the death of their party, many had become know-nothings or members of the American Party. There was a lodge near my new home, and I was invited to join it. I accepted the invitation, was initiated, attended the meeting just 1 week later, and never went to another afterwards.
I make no apologies for having been 1 week a member of the American Party, for I still think native-born citizens of the United States should have just as much protection, as many privileges in their native country, as those who voluntarily selected for a home. But all secret oath-bound political parties are dangerous to any nation, no matter how pure or how patriotic their motives and principles are, which first bring them together. No political party can or ought to exist when one of its cornerstones is opposition to freedom of thought and to the right to worship God according to the dictate of one's own conscience, or according to the creed of any religious denomination. Nevertheless, if a sect sets up its laws as binding above the state laws, whenever the two come in conflict, the claim must be resisted and suppressed at whatever cost.
This is excellent, Ulysses. May I continue? I feel that we are on the eve of a new era when there is to be great harmony between the federal and Confederate. I cannot stay to be a living witness to the correctness of this prophecy, but I feel it within me that it is to be so. The universally kind feeling expressed for me at a time when it was supposed that each day would prove my last seemed to me the beginning of the answer to let us have peace. The expressions of these kindly feelings were not restricted to a section of the country, nor to a division of the people. They came from individual citizens of all nationalities, from all denominations, the Protestant, the Catholic, and the Jew, and from the various societies of the land, scientific, educational, religious, or otherwise. Politics did not enter into the matter at all. I am not egotist enough to suppose that all this significance should be given because I was the object of it, but the war between the states was a very bloody and a very costly war. One side or the other had to yield principles they deemed dearer than life before it could be brought to an end. I commanded the whole of the mighty host engaged on the victorious side. I was, no matter whether deservedly so or not, a representative of that side of the controversy. It is a significant and gratifying fact that Confederates should have joined heartily in this spontaneous move. I hope the good feeling inaugurated may continue to the end.
So, Mr. Clemens, what do you think?
Almost as great as the man himself.
Please, Samuel. You're long past the need for useless flattery. When will you be writing about her own exploits during the rebellion? I'm sure Julia would marvel at your heroics.
Oh, do tell, Mr. Clemens. I didn't know you served in the Union Army.
You never miss an opportunity to put me on the spot. Miss Grant, I served miserably for the losing side. I was a soldier for 2 weeks once in the beginning of the war and was hunted like a rat the whole time. Fortunately, I came to my senses and deserted.
If more people used common sense, we wouldn't have these wars in the first place. Isn't that right, Ulysses?
We share the same thinking. I have to believe the entire rebellion would never have occurred had the young white Southern boys sent off as cannon fodder had the common sense to see that to the wealthy slaveholders who controlled their destiny and their vote, their human property was worth infinitely more than a soldier's sacrifice.
And that is the history of mankind, a failure of common sense.
My failures have been errors in judgment, not of intent. There is nothing more to do.
Ulysses S. Grant died from throat cancer on July 23, 1885. I had become well acquainted with Grant in the years following his presidency. I had the pleasure of visiting him and Julia frequently at their New York home. It was during that final, painful year of his life that we spent the most time together as he worked tirelessly on his personal memoirs. Some people think that I was the author. No, I reviewed what he wrote and made a suggestion or two, but this was Grant's writing. One day, he put aside his pencil. We published his memoirs in 2 volumes, and it was more successful than I could have imagined. I'm happy to report that it left Julia financially comfortable. There is no mention of General Order 11.
Yitgadal, Yitgadash, Shemei, Rabbah, Belma, Divra, Chirote, Ameich, Malchite, Bichaechon, Uviomechon, Uvire, Tikolbe, Yisrael, Bagala, Uvizman, Kariv, Vimru, Amen.
I admired Ulysses S. Grant, perhaps more than any man I ever met. I always believed one shouldn't speak ill of the deceased. I don't believe we have spoken ill this evening. My belief is that we have spoken the truth. And to speak truthfully, I must admit that as a much younger man, I shared some of the same ignorant views as General Grant. Even some of my writings reflect my eager acceptance of commonplace misconceptions. But I read more, met folks as I traveled the world, had well-meaning critics educate me, and happily accepted a Jewish son-in-law into my family, I saw that we all share a common bond, our humanity. Although Grant and I never discussed it, I'd like to think that he eventually came to the same conclusion. Prediction is difficult, particularly when it involves the future. For the majority of us, the past is a regret, the future an experiment. I encourage you to learn from the past, study it, the good and the bad. The only hope for the future is that when you see the same old mistakes and injustices occurring, you choose not to look away.
Oh, I wish I was in the land of cotton. Old times there are not forgotten. Look away, look away, look away.
Give me your time. is yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these the homeless tempests to me. I lick my land beside the golden door. Give me your time, your ore. Your head on message yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these the homeless tempest tossed to me. I lift my land beside the golden door.
Hi, I'm Patty Alice Mengers, and I directed Maury Norkin's table reading of Look Away. I'm zooming to you from Wilmington, Delaware. Tom?
Hi, I'm Tom Newbrough. I portrayed Ulysses Grant, and I'm zooming to you from Annapolis, Maryland. Doris?
Hello, my name is Doris Kluhl. I am also in Annapolis, Maryland, and this evening I portrayed Julia Grant and Mary Grant Carter. Jim?
Hello, I'm Jim Ryder. I played Mark Twain. I'm also from Annapolis, Maryland. I played Mark Twain. Mike.
Hi, I think I'm Mike Cohen, and I'm here in Philadelphia, and I played so many characters that I'm confused. And here's another confused character. I think that's Norm.
Thank you. I'm glad you recognize me. My name is Norm Tebow, and I played multitasking actor number 2, and I'm zooming to you from outside of Boston in Waltham, Massachusetts. Patty.
And now back to Mary and Jan for the talk back.
Hi, and we'd like to bring everybody on, including our playwright Maury Norkin and our tech director Doug McDougall. Just a reminder to put your comments and questions for all the folks up here in the Q&A at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Jan?
Yeah, so Maury, first, congratulations on, I think, a very fine table read. Congratulations to Patty and the actors and Doug and everybody and all the musicians who played such an important role in this. I think it was terrific. Maury, we like to start table reads by talking with playwrights about their inspiration for their script. So I'm sure there is a story behind this, and we would really like to know from you where this play came from in your experience and imagination.
Sure.
Oops.
So my sister-in-law, Linda, shared a post shortly after the October 7th Hamas atrocities, and her post was a historical list of Jewish expulsions from various countries and by various regimes. And General Order 11 was included on there. And she highlighted that one to note that, people say, could it happen here in the US? And saying, well, in fact, it did happen. And I saw that and I thought, I'd never heard of that. And I started reading about it and researching and just reading the shocking language in the order itself. And then I don't know, I just got drawn into finding out more about it and the whole history of Jews during the Civil War period. And there was a lot of documentation out there
Maury's freezing a little bit.
Yeah.
to call from. So
So,
Yeah, well, as Mary said in our introduction, this, at least when we were in school, this was nothing that was taught. So even though
Yeah,
there are, I assume there were books that you consulted and other sources, but is it fair to say this is not widely known, at least among Americans?
yeah. I mean, it's certainly not taught, and I mean, we think of Grant, just in terms of what he accomplished in the battles, and I guess stories about his drinking. I don't know, but not much else. So definitely a dark turn there. And I tried to. I hope I tried to be a little balanced there, like Mark Twain was, um, because I read things that were kind of on both sides of it. Very highly critical of him, and some saying, well, you know, it was mostly the responsibilities that were placed on him that kind of brought about that feeling. So who knows?
I think it did a good job of showing both sides in a lot of through a lot of the play, even to the point where Norm and I, being different rabbis, had different opinions of it too. So I think you showed how deep that division could be.
Right. I mean, that's definitely the kind of what's going on within the Jewish community today, where there are definitely divisions about how to feel about certain political issues, and does that affect your vote, or is that the only issue that you're voting on? And so, it's just things don't change.
No,
Things just don't change.
no,
Maury,
no.
you had this in mind for a stage production rather than Zoom, is that right?
Well, yes, I guess all playwrights, we get to that point, don't we?
So, but was this helpful to you? I mean, we're going to go to people's comments in just a moment, but was it helpful to sort of see it all of one piece?
Oh, yes. I mean, absolutely. And so, before we get too far, I just want to thank everybody who I see on the screen right now for your amazing contributions, your performances, your support, the technical support, everything, the direction, producing, acting, just brilliant. So yeah, I would love to see this on stage somewhere. I mean, I realize that the format is probably not conducive to what a lot of mainstream theaters might be looking for, but I guess I kind of see it as, maybe a fundraising activity for a Jewish community center or a synagogue somewhere that likes to put on shows. So who knows?
Or even
I'm
as
open
something
to,
at a school assembly, it would probably have to be a little bit shorter to fit into the
yes,
usual assembly period, but yeah,
yes, yes,
exactly.
yes.
Hmm.
Jan, should we go to comments here?
Sure.
So, um, Maxine says, "Hi, Mike," from Maxine and Alan. Um, John Busser has a couple of comments. John is
Oh,
probably knows a playwright.
oh,
Um,
yes.
and he says, "I don't know if the music and imagery that we're seeing here will be able to be used. I guess that's by copyright." But he really liked the mood that it sets for the actors to play against. And Maury, was that an intentional thing? Or was it decided by Doug, the tech director? He felt it really enhanced things. So whose idea was it to use the images and the music?
Well, I've had the music and a variety of images in the script since the earliest drafts. Um, my brother helped put the music together. He was the music coordinator. He got his former bandmates together to do a lot of recordings. Um, and then when I got engaged with the PlayZoomers, then Doug McDougall reached out to me to let me know that there were some issues with some of the with some of the graphics not showing up clearly, and we looked for some replacements, and Doug was really a tremendous help with that. So yeah, I mean, music and graphics, that was something I wanted from the beginning, to just help with the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Um,
And John also says that he would love to see the Jewish prayers translated, maybe as a projection while being performed. So that's one comment there.
right.
David says, "Well done, a challenging production, engaging, informative, and entertaining." Um, Bonnie says, "A great history lesson." Fred says, "Hey Maury, Fred man, I wanted to let you know I was here. Well done." Um,
Thank you.
Howard Rake, you know Howard from our
Yes.
PlayZoomers acting cast, and
Yeah.
he would like to share some observations with you, but not in public. So
Okay.
be looking for an email or something from
I
Howard.
will. That's great.
Um, Ronnie says, "Thank you for shedding light in a nuanced way on a little known aspect of U.S. history. You did a great job displaying Grant's transition."
Hmm.
And let's see a couple more. Janice says, "Thank you for sharing this part of history in the Civil War. I never knew Jewish people were discriminated against during the Civil War. Sad to know, but glad this history is being shared. And thank you, Mike, for inviting me." Jan, would you like to take it from here? John Busser's comment would be the next one.
Why don't you do that, Mary?
Okay, I'll
Then
continue doing it.
then I have a question for
Okay,
Maury.
John says he absolutely thinks it could work on stage. Woody says, "Very informative and revealing play. I have many comments, but want to focus on the plight of where the country was near and during the end of the war. General Order 11 did cause more upset than I knew about. After 3 pages of notes, I come away with at the end with then President Grant's statement to Mark Twain, 'My error of judgment toward the Jewish population is mine and mine alone.' Good ending to the play." Uh, let's see. Maxine says, "Should we write or raise our hands and speak?" Yes, you're raising your hand, and I will be calling on those of you who would like to actually speak. So yes, keep your hand raised, Maxine. Um, let's see. Howard says, "In general, I think it needs to be tightened up to make it a little easier to follow."
Yeah.
Jersey says, "Wonderful work, everyone. Skilled performances, writing, hosting, and tech. Brava to Patty Alice." And she thought the photos and music were very interesting, a great way to transition between scenes, and thought the Zoom format lent itself well to that kind of style. Let's see. Patrice really enjoyed watching from West Hartford, Connecticut. Isn't that where Mark Twain used to live? Somewhere near there. Fascinating history, nice balance of history and drama. She wanted to ask about the music. Was some of it sung by actors and friends? And that would be Ken Norkin and his friends, right, Maury?
Yes, and
Yeah.
my wife sang the finale.
Okay. And by the way, Maury was my neighbor when we were both 2 or 3 years old in Rockville, Maryland. Okay. Oh, that's fun. And he sent in a play that was chosen for her local Connecticut festival. John Busser says, "One of the advantages of the Talking Heads format is that you directly engage with the audience instead of the audience merely watching the story." Okay. Peter says, "Thank you for bringing this bit of sordid history to my attention. Recommend you focus in on on more on one of the more affected Jewish families, hopefully creating more drama." Ron Cohen says, "Hi, Mike, from your cousin, a great performance by all. I never knew about this." Maxine said, "The best play I have yet to see on this platform, serious, deep, and profound. I knew nothing of this history, being Jewish." Ken, the musician, most of the music is in the public domain. I and my bandmates created the arrangements of everything. 2 pieces are under copyright, and Maury has arranged for licensing. Our recordings were created for performances such as this to show performing organizations what the pieces could sound like when done by an acoustic band. People should know that Maury's script envisions a live band as the chorus. Okay, I remember reading that. Aubrey says, powerfully written and performed. Congrats to all. And Patrice says, yes, the Mark Twain House is right here in Hartford. Okay. So that is, as of now. Now, we do have a couple people with hands raised, but Jan, I'll go to you
Yeah,
next.
so I want to go back to Maury. So what we
Sure.
said in our introduction, Maury, is that the reason for doing a table read, and PlayZoomers does quite a few, and we've done quite a few over the years, is to enable playwrights to see their work on
Thanks
its
for your
feet
nice comment.
and to get some feedback. And I'm wondering, in the feedback category, what would you like to know that you have not already heard in the comments? What were you looking for? What questions did you have? What was your reason for wanting to see this as a table read, in addition to your own views of how it worked and, you know, tweaks that might be needed down the line? What questions might you have for the audience, for the director, for the actors?
Well, going to the one comment about needing to tighten it up. I mean, I think that's been my biggest concern or fear, that maybe there are places where, as an audience member, you kind of maybe, do you tune out? Do some of the speeches get to be too long? I'm wondering about the ending. There's a lot of back and forth reading from the memoir. Do you get to the point where does anybody get to the point where you feel like, I sense that we're near the end. Can we move it along? But so I'm just wondering, is it too long? Do you tune out at different places? Do the actors feel like, oh boy, this is a lot for me to get through? This could be tightened up. So
Let's take that question. Let's take it over to the actors, and then Patty will have you comment also. What were your thoughts on how did this go for you as an actor, and then what was your sense of it in terms of its length and pace, I guess? Norm, we're going to start with you because you're right in the middle of the screen, my screen.
Oh, great. How did I end up here in the middle of the screen?
Really? Really?
Other than my missing a cue and to slow things up, it went pretty well. Yeah, I always question long sections of dialogue in something that's a history type lesson, if it can't be tightened up a little bit. I can't really be a judge of this play, though, because I'm sitting here saying, what am I going to put on next? Where's that tie? So I couldn't be a good judge of, if it was all cohesive, to the audience. The audience is really who to ask, probably. But let's pass it on to the next actor.
Okay. Who else would like to respond?
Well, I'll take one because I had to read some of the long bits. I think the long bits that Twain has really feel like, when I'm reading them, they really feel like they're coming from the heart. There's a couple of times that he and Grant are reading from the pages of his autobiography, but some of these ones that Twain has, if we were standing on a stage and the audience was watching, I think I think these little monologues flow very well. And it's because you put some humanity into kind of like the yin and yang between somebody like Twain and somebody like Grant, So I think that, and I'm in the middle of rehearsals for Stage Manager in our town, so these are not monologues. These are fine. But I think the ones where it's Twain talking to the audience from his heart and brain and stuff, throw some humor in there. I think they flow right along.
Thank you. Does anybody have any feeling about the format itself? You know, where you've got three actors playing essentially the same roles over and over again, and two actors just doing a tremendous amount of quick changing. You know, my initial intent, or what I initially came up with in my first draft, I considered to be a reader's theater where everybody would be on stage the entire time, maybe seated off to the side, and then just moving to the center when they had something to do. I'm not sure how popular readers theater is in general outside of educational setting, but so I've been trying over the course of different iterations to make it more dramatic, to have more conversation. And as one of the comments said, you know, it could benefit maybe from more drama. So I keep trying to move in that direction, and I'm not sure how to get there.
I think one of the things, if it were to be staged, is that you've got some really good stage directions. You know, if they're at their desk, you know, Twain and Grant, Julia comes in, you know, these guys, the two guys who are, I keep thinking of 39 Steps with the two guys who play everything. But that's where the limits of Zoom pop up, you know,
Right.
because you're looking at heads. But if you imagine the stage, there's a lot that can be going on without pauses, and with, you know, when the pictures are up, they can still be moving on, talking,
Exactly.
playing the music, you know.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I knew that Zoom wasn't going to catch it, you know, exactly the way I wanted to, but at least, you know,
Zoom gives
it's a more
it's a great
integrated
flavor.
approach.
It's a
Yeah.
great flavor to see what's possible.
I think if it were staged, though, I don't think Norm and I would have made it to the end of the play.
You got to do 39 Steps next.
Yeah. Patty, do you have thoughts on length
Yeah,
and
I
pacing?
think a lot of the speeches need to be edited and cut down. I think some points could be made in shorter form, and I think there's some redundancy. And
Yeah.
that's just to move it along. Not to say that everything isn't valuable, but I think there are times when you could cut to the chase more quickly and the long speeches. And I was talking with Mike. Mike, you had a suggestion about the ending that you mentioned to me.
Well, yeah, I just thought I really enjoyed the music a lot. I think it really adds a lot to the show. But I thought that the one prayer that's recorded, it's all in Hebrew, and it's toward the end, and it's pretty long. I think that took a little bit of the steam out of the ending because it was so long. That might be cut down.
Yeah. I mean, I was just trying to kind of bookend the fact that the prayer was at the beginning and explained why it was unusual, and then have it after he actually died, or, you know, his
Right.
death was announced. But yeah, it could be shortened,
Well,
certainly.
you could
or
have a short prayer
it could
after
be
he
shortened.
dies.
Yeah.
And then I think I agree with Mike that it's such a powerful moment when you say when Twain says that he put down his pen. I would go right to Twain, and I would shorten his final speech too, where
Yeah.
he gets to the punchline, make sure you don't look away, and then to go right into give me your tired, your poor is very powerful, and I think reinforces the power of the ending more. Yeah.
One of the passages where I thought could be tightened up a little bit is the exchange between the senators in their respective houses.
Mhm.
I love that section because it's humorous and it's downright stupid funny that
Yeah.
these guys are talking about these bills that they're dead already.
Yeah.
But if there's some way to slim that down a little bit and still retain the lunacy of those moments, that would be good. And I do think that the sections with near the end where Clemens is reading from the manuscript, that I think that will play so much better in real life because you can see them handing the book back and forth to each
Sure.
other, the manuscript, and you can see, because it would be easy in those long passages to think, is Twain talking to Grant or are
Right.
they having a conversation? But it would be very clear that he was reading all Grant's words there.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, and I think actually if you're going to have an actor one and an actor two, you could have an actor three and four too to help make the multi roles move more smoothly because there were some places where it was just impossible for the actors to change characters. So I think that could be just handled by having another everyman,
Mhm.
you know, at least one other, maybe two.
We have a number of comments. We have 4 people with raised hands and
Ooh.
another 12 comments. So, Jen, what say we go to Maxine and see what she has to say? Or get like 5 people now. Maxine, would you like to tell us your thoughts?
Yes, I every time Mike is on these performances, we come, and so we've seen every single one that Mike at least has been in, and this by far was our favorite. Really, I just thought it was profound. Um, the other ones I always found, more, I don't know, chatty or less profound, I guess you would say. I'm Jewish, and I kept turning to my husband and saying, "Is this true? Did this really happen?" And he kept saying, "Yes." I said, "Were there Jews in America at that time?" "Yes, Jews supported the
They paid
Revolutionary
for the
War."
revolution.
I mean, I was riveted. I mean, every actor spoke for a long time, but every single word was like news to me. I used to consider myself an educated person before this, and I just thought it was profound. And the prayers, of course, I assume you're Jewish, that the Kaddish prayer and the prayer from Yom Kippur. I mean, they were just, those are prayers that are, I don't know the translation of myself. Well, the one the Kaddish is in Aramaic. It's not even in Hebrew. I don't even know if there is a translation. But, they're so meaningful to someone who is Jewish. And so I guess it would be like being, in a mass and something being really powerful to you. I would be dying to share this with other Jewish people because I don't know if anybody knows this history. And I thought it worked beautifully on Zoom. It was so powerful. I mean, the statements were long. Every word was significant to me. I don't know how much action would be on a play and how much attention one would have. I mean, now like I'm, 5 inches away from you at the moment from my screen. So I just thought it was masterful, the whole thing. I mean, I just loved it.
Thank you,
Oh,
Maxine.
thank you so much.
Yeah, Richard Wade, you're next.
Wow.
So, Richard, would you like to make your comment?
You're on mute, Rick.
Oh, you're on mute. Yes, you have to unmute yourself. So, can you unmute? Okay, Richard, we can come back to you when you figure out the muting thing. Now, Richard did have a comment though, Maury. He said he saw an early draft of the play. He's worked it into a rich production. He thinks public television might be a good format for it. Structure easily transferred to that media, probably cheaper than a stage production. And let's see. Okay, let's go to Woody. If Woody has a comment. If you are unmuted.
Yeah.
You're on, Woody.
Hi, I don't know if you can see me. I can't see myself,
It's
but
okay. We're just listening. Yeah, it's just the
yeah,
listening.
thank you. Uh, what I really wanted to say, and I've got 3 pages to say, and we
Huh.
can talk details if you want, but for Maury Norkin, tremendous, tremendous effort. Okay. I think you really did a wonderful job there.
Thank
And
you.
while we talk about the technicality of it, I can imagine this play being shown even with the sound and the music and the pictures. It's wonderful. Okay. If we could put it all together right. And most importantly, that comes through is the fact that if the characters could be played, it means a lot of costume changes to go into the Zoom. I understand, but I'd really like to see Grant in a uniform when he's still a general, and like to see him in a president's uniform, a president's outfit when he is now the president, etc., etc. If you
Yeah.
can make that happen, it changes the whole dynamic,
Yeah.
and
It's
suddenly outsiders can see and picture exactly the timeline that is going on.
yeah, it's
It's
hard to do
really
all of
something.
that in a table read because we had 3 rehearsals and
Oh, I know
but
that.
that's yeah,
I
but
understand that. Oh,
yeah.
yes, Mary.
So
I so understand that. But for Maury, please understand that what you have done so far is absolutely fantastic.
Well,
Okay.
thank you.
That's
great.
I've got 3 pages of
Well,
things to
we
say,
need
but
we need to get to a couple other people though, but
I
thank you
know you
very much,
do. So
Woody.
I
Yeah,
will say thank you very much for
feel free
all you
to,
have done. And Doug, you were fantastic trying to put this all together. I
yeah.
can't believe it.
In
Thank
three
you.
rehearsals. So
Move
thanks,
on.
Woody.
Thank you.
So Janice, you are next. If you unmute yourself, we can hear you.
Hi, my name is Janice, and I am a Black woman who was absolutely stunned when I read about when Mike sent me the flyer. And I am on vacation, and I was absolutely not going to miss this because but I want to say this. I felt as though the dialogue was right because it's history. And as much as we want to cut things down, the fact that we can hear people in real time saying the things that we would have never heard them say because we weren't there, and we want to get as much information as possible from the people that are saying it and thinking it. I thought it was just so excellently done. And I was just riveted with all the information and the fact that this happened. And, as a Black person, I know my history, but I did not know anything about this history, and it's made me go start looking and looking for more information about it. So thank you, and I think it was well done. And I just think that having that dialogue, even though some people thought it was long, and everybody has their their thoughts, but when it's history, we can never relive it because we don't know it. And when somebody brings it to us, bringing it as much as possible in this time frame too, which was not long, but long enough for us to understand what happened and to never forget what happened. So thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Janice. Richard, I'm going to give you one more opportunity
Mike.
to speak.
He's still
If you can
muted. Oh, there he
figure
is.
out.
There he
Oh,
is.
there you are. Okay, you're on, Rick. Rick,
Rick,
you've unmuted successfully. That's good.
speak.
Well, okay.
Oh, too bad. Rick is directing Jim in our town.
In our town. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Jan, we've got 11 more comments or questions. Would you like to handle them?
Yeah, I would. Hold on here. Let me get to them.
Start with John Busser.
Yeah. So John says, as for the length, I don't feel it's too long when you consider the style of language from that time. People spoke more eloquently than they do today, that's for sure. The floweriness of the language adds to the tone of the piece. And Patrice says, whoops, this is an unusual format, and I wonder how you envision it being presented when it's live. Would it be actors on stage simply declaiming individually? It reminds me a bit of the Disney figures, the animatronic, that give us historical context at displays of history.
Well, how do I envision the chorus, the musicians, whether it's a band or a solo artist, um, off to one side of the stage, in and I envision Grant at his desk and a separate desk for Mark Twain to go to when he's not visiting the Grants, and then the other actors all on stage, probably seated and just moving into the action and out of the action as necessary. The script does, as Jim pointed out, have a lot of stage directions already written in there that show the different interactions and how people are moving and how somebody's writing or somebody's reading a letter or whatever. So I don't know. I guess it's kind of a hybrid now between reader's theater and drama. And I keep trying to go more to the drama aspect, but I have a feeling it's going to remain a hybrid of sorts. So I don't know. I mean, having seen the Zoom version with the music and the graphics and everything all together, I do think what I see on stage, when I see the potential for what can be done on stage, is a lot clearer to me now. So
Good.
Good. Patrice says, I certainly thought of Our Town and the stage manager.
yeah.
And then John Butzer has another comment. I'm a fan of the composite actors. It adds a little juice to the show watching some actors portray different roles. Your mileage may vary. And Ken Norkin says, I realize I'm biased, but I really think this would work in a live staging with actors walking in and out of characters and Twain walking in and out of the action, breaking the fourth wall, as it were. And Susan says, not a question, but a comment. I simply felt so very sad listening to this. I found it shocking. I am so sick of anti-Semitism. Will it ever stop? I wonder. This just made me sad. And Susan says, P.S. I am not Jewish. I'm a Christian minister. Maxine says, yes, public television. I could ask at Germantown Jewish Center about showing it.
Oh.
Maxine. Terry says, I would appreciate an editorial evaluation of it, of if Grant truly reversed his attitude about Jews. That's interesting. So what did you learn about that, Maury? Is that what you learned in your research?
Well, I mean, I've read different points of view from people. One person who wrote it was either a master's thesis or a PhD thesis, and then another author who was, I think the PhD person kind of came down hard on Grant. That that was pretty much the way he felt. And then another author kind of said, look at all the things that he did, after that when he became president. So, I don't know. He certainly, I can't imagine that he felt such a great obligation to appoint Jews to different posts when he became president. I can't believe that he had that much guilt about General Order 11. So I don't know. I mean, there are people throughout history who have been in high office, who have had harbored bad feelings about Jews or others, and I don't know, but you don't. It's just something that you're not exposed to on a daily basis, I guess. So you don't know, is this person, a racist? Is this person anti-Semitic? They covered their tracks. I don't know. I don't
We'll
know.
never know. The answer is buried in Grant's tomb.
Yes, there you go. Yes, that's right. Grant's tomb.
You were waiting to drop that bomb, Mike.
Yes, he was holding on. Maxine says, so back to, I would appreciate an editorial evaluation of if Grant truly reversed his attitude. And she said, and it happened exactly when the slaves were freed.
The timing was unbelievable
Yeah, yeah.
with the Emancipation Proclamation.
Ken says, I call it an acted out multi-person TED Talk.
Okay.
Howard says, to the actor who played Grant, kudos for the scene where you are a candidate for president. A bit too long, but great acting. Terry said, would give a makeup and casting award to the director who chose the person who played U.S. Grant.
All right.
Yeah.
Patrice said, you should definitely be in touch with the Mark Twain House here in Hartford once you have a final version of the play. They have a lively center there with many educational and entertaining activities and a lot of support around the area. Maxine says, I thought the actors were superb, the best work I've seen them do. Howard said, Roosevelt turned back ships carrying refugees from Nazi Europe. Yeah. Okay, well, that kind of ties into my own question, Maury, and that's about some of the timing of your graphics and your music. That first graphic felt to me like immigrants coming from Europe, but not Civil War era immigrants. Is that right? Or
Yeah,
not? And you
probably.
bookended the show with that same graphic. So to me, it felt like the wrong time period.
Yeah.
I would just say that it could be interpreted as the timelessness of what's going on. And, you know, those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it, and look what's happening now in our country. So I think having a graphic of immigrants coming more during the turn of the next century is okay if you think of the play having being a universal, unfortunately, ongoing theme. That's the way I looked at it.
Yeah.
I like the idea that it was still I didn't like it, but I mean that the play unfortunately is still quite relevant, especially what's going on in the country now.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, it's hard to find photos of, immigrants coming in, in before the 1860s or whatever. So
Yeah, that was just
I
one thing
really just wanted to, like Patty said, I really just wanted to go to the idea that this is a story about immigrants and how they were treated. And I wanted the feeling to be not just about Jewish immigrants, but about immigrants in general, and certainly with what's going on today. So, I mean, at the end, we have the Statue of Liberty there. Obviously, that was not built during the Civil War, although Grant was the one who initiated the proposal. I mean, he got the ball rolling with the okay to build something like that.
Yeah, that and then I looked up also the Emma Lazarus poem, which Give Me Your Tired, You're Poor, which was
early 20th century, maybe?
It was written in 1883 and it was put to music by Irving Berlin in 1949. That the only thing I think, Maury, is that your focus here is so tight on Grant and Twain and that time period, and it's so illuminating things that people didn't know before that. To broaden it to say this is about immigrants, to me loses the focus that's so important here. And so I was confused in looking at those images and that music, listening to that music, like, why is this here? I don't really get it, where the other music was directly relevant of the time. So I think similarly to saying some of the speeches need to be tightened up a little bit, I would just say your focus here, this is just my personal opinion, needs to be focused on that and not on this broader issue of immigrants, which you could talk about in talkbacks or in playwright notes or something like that. But the play itself is strong and focused on one time in history that I think it's stronger keeping to that.
I just want to mention that someone complimented the casting of the show. Maury cast the show. I can't take credit for that, but I happen to be familiar with some of the cast members and then delighted to meet the others. He has very good taste in casting.
Yes, Jim and Doris and Tom played these same roles in a reading in Annapolis last September without any rehearsal.
Wow.
In a restaurant while people were eating lunch. I was sitting on my computer trying to run the sound cues and not being able to really pay attention to what they were doing. So, but I mean, but they were marvelous then, and I couldn't see going forward without at least asking them. And I was so happy that they were willing to do it again.
That's great. We're
And
happy
then
to know of
and then
you.
to have Mike and Norm who have brought my other plays, some of my other plays to life along with Patty. It's like, well, hey, what a good group. So
And this illustrates the range that Maury has as a playwright, because the plays I've directed of his with Mike and Norm were comedies and satires. So this shows you his range as a playwright.
Doug, we haven't heard from you. Tell us what challenges were there here to knit together the graphics and the music and the acting.
Right. So basically, working with Maury was great. We had all his illustrations were embedded in the actual Word document that he sent to me. The unfortunate thing is when you go to copy those, the resolution, so the clarity on the photos doesn't really come through. So with a couple, we couldn't find the original, so Maury found some substitutes. But it was a lot of research on Maury's end as far as finding the right photographs to use to go along with the music. But once that was all set, I tried with certain songs to link up the lyrics to the actual image or the visual that was on the screen as well. So that was a little bit challenging, but I think in the end, it all came together, which was great.
It did. And also special kudos to the musicians, to Ken Norkin and to the instrumentalists and the vocalists. I think that added tremendously to the play.
Yeah, I think I, for one, would like maybe more music, but smaller clumps spread throughout. That would, I think, work nicely.
So Maury, anything else you would like to ask of audience members or cast and creative team?
no, I mean, I think I've heard a lot. Very constructive feedback, a lot for me to think about, and I will certainly be revisiting the script and seeing, what happens next, and also looking for opportunities where I can, submit the play. Obviously, if anybody hears of anything, please let me know. But really, I just want to again thank everybody, everybody who's on the screen now. Thank you for your support, for your talent. To my brother, I mean, countless hours. I don't know how many times he has sent files back and forth to me. It's like, I changed this measure just a little bit. I speeded it up, It's like, okay, great, So a lot of work went on behind the scenes, and I appreciate everything that everybody's done. My wife with her recording, everybody who showed up today to watch and to share your thoughts. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful.
Thank you, Maury.
It's a pleasure.
So, all right. For those of you who are still with us, and PlayZoomers has our next actual main stage production the first weekend in October. It's all about theater. We're currently fine-tuning which plays that we are using, and it's called Off Book. So if this is your first time coming to see us, we hope that we will see you again in October and beyond.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you, Maury. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, actors. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, audience. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
So thank you, everybody. Good
Right.
job.
Thank